All righty. So, welcome to the very first session in our funding success series. Now, for those of you who signed up, thank you so much for watching live, for joining us live, and for watching on the replay. So this promises to be very full of insight. We are a team that does not do fluff. My name is Shanna Etchcom. I go by Shanna E. And we also have Matthew, and we are leading tonight's session. And it's all about funding success for small business. So let's get right into it. The first things that you're going to learn about is exploring the types of grants, loans, credit facilities, and other options available to MSMEs. You're also going to learn the key differences, benefits, and drawbacks of each funding type, and research and identify funding opportunities that align with business goals. So let me just make this bigger as I share my screen. Let's go full on share screen. Okay. I'm going to stop share for a moment and then I'll make the adjustment. All righty. Sorry about that. I'll make the adjustment once I hop in. Okay. All right, let me make this bigger for you. Okay. All right. Now we're cooking. Okay. So we're also going to ensure that your key takeaways are that you have a clear understanding of the funding ecosystem for MSMEs. So what we're going to talk about tonight is the local funding options and the international funding options, the tools and resources for finding suitable grants and loans, and then, of course, the strategies for matching your business needs with the right funding sources. And then, of course, we'll have a Q&A at the very end. So before we get into it, just to make sure that you know who we are and you understand our background, let's get into it. We are Link Ventures. We are just a few of a group, a team. We are a consulting firm committed to business growth and innovation in the Bahamas and the Caribbean. We provide consulting, training, and management services with a strong emphasis on nurturing startups. We offer a high level of strategic perspective on startups and businesses. Our initiatives focus on thriving ecosystems that offer networking, access to capital, mentorship, and other opportunities for aspiring entrepreneurs. Our core competencies include designing and delivering tailored curricula for small and medium-sized business development. We also run Shift the Culture, powered by Link. So on the screen, you will see us in our element at Pitch Night. That is where we bring groups of entrepreneurs together who want feedback on their ideas, feedback on the businesses, whether they have kicked off or not. It is very, very useful. We have not had any complaints when it comes to the feedback that we've given, because it gives new and aspiring entrepreneurs, as well as established entrepreneurs, the chance to get the feedback, the honest, but also useful feedback that it's hard to get outside of this type of community and atmosphere. So, as I said, we host pitch nights. We also host meetups. Those happen once per month. We are big on networking, of course, because in this entrepreneurial world, you need a community, okay? You need a community when you think that you're about to go out your mind and nobody understands what it is that you are dealing with. You need to know that there are other people in the world who are going through the exact same thing as you. And then, of course, we have programming and content. So we did have a podcast. It was called the Venture Podcast that we taped out of our former co-working space, Venture Co-working. So we are all about cultivating value by growing and engaging our community. And that's what we're doing. That is what we're doing as we sit here with you and we walk you through how to find the proper funding. We use tools, technology, and frameworks. We use our skills, expertise, and match it with programming. And we use our community, our networks to build partnerships. So this is just an example of our curriculum. This is our bridge program that we have run. We've run full out bridge program for the Access Accelerator Small Business Development Center. We've also used pieces of it for the Canoe Innovation Hub, for example. And then, of course, we use it in other capacities when we are guest facilitators for other programs, such as the Academy of Women Entrepreneurs. Our impact has been global, particularly in the Caribbean. We have worked with entrepreneurs and founders from Trinidad and Tobago, Jamaica, St. Lucia, the British Virgin Islands, Barbados, Chile, Grenada, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and the United States. So we have spanned a wide range of sectors with entrepreneurs from ICT to tourism and hospitality and agribusiness. All right, so let's jump into it. We have done enough talking about our background. Why do startups fail? Now, what you are looking at are the top reasons that CB Insights has collected through their research. They're very reputable. They're based in New York, I believe. And through their case studies and following the journey of over 100 startups, they have seen that this is the top reason why startups fail. The first thing, they ran out of cash or they failed to raise new capital. What does this say? Money talks. Money is key. Money is king. You need it in business. And especially when you're trying to grow and you have certain visions or a certain trajectory that you want to follow, you need money, whether you raise that internally or you raise that through seeking funding. Of course, also the other reasons include no market need. They got out-competed. They have a flawed business model, regulatory and legal challenges, pricing and cost issues, not having the right team, product was mistimed, poor product, disharmony among team investors, pivot gone bad, and burned out, lack of passion, which y'all is very real. That last part is very real. So we're going to explore existing funding options. These are the typical funding options that you would see available. The first one is a loan. The second is a grant. Third, investors, partnerships, crowdfunding, angel investing, and other sources of equity. So I'll turn it over to Matthew and he'll jump into it.
Okay, so sorry, getting the feedback on the mic there. Okay, so the first option that is going to have the least amount of ongoing downsides for you is going to be grants. Everyone wants free money. Usually these come with a few caveats, but usually it's just based around the fact that they are niche specific and usually to promote something that will benefit the entire society. So that could just be that they want a particular type of entrepreneur. It could be that they want a particular impact in society or on the environment, et cetera, et cetera. But by and large, a grant is going to be the least strings attached money that you're going to come across. One of the huge benefits of this is that you retain all of your equity. You're not getting diluted down. So if you're in a company, of course, you start out with complete ownership, and the more funds that you raise in general in the investor ecosystem that is out there, the more you're going to get diluted down. A grant doesn't want a piece of your company. There are rare occasions where there's some partnerships that happen, but by and large, a grant is an institution that wants a particular thing to be promoted in the world, and they're going to choose vehicles to make those investments in society at large. So there's no repayment on that, and for that reason, it is very sought after. However, because it's so sought after, it is competitive, and again, it's quite niche specific. So if you are just out there, there's a lot of different reasons to start businesses. Many people just want to make as much money as possible. There's nothing wrong with that per se, but it does mean that you're probably not going to find a grant that is just looking to help you make as much money as possible. The exceptions for this is on the smaller side, when you're talking about places like the Access Accelerator, these small business development centers. Sometimes there's a grant system in place with the government that wants things to happen. Sometimes there are other organizations like that, but these tend to be on a very small side of seed funding.
Yeah, you have anything to add there, Shauna, on grants?
So I would definitely say not to take grants casually. There are a lot of people who want grants because, as Matthew said, you don't have to pay it back. Hence, everyone wants a grant. Don't take it casually, meaning that you still need an executive summary. You still need all of the things that are necessary to qualify and stand out. And we're going to talk about those things shortly. Grants are more common here. Grants are more preferable here. And the bar is, I don't want to say the bar is a little bit lower, but in some respects, it's easier to get a grant versus a loan, because a loan is more intensive as far as what you need to prove to make sure that an investor is not just throwing money that's down the toilet.
Okay, speaking of loans, they're the next up in a lot of people's preferences because, again, you have equity retention. The downside of that is that you are literally paying for that money in a direct manner. A loan is, I give you this money at X%, and here's your payment schedule, and if you miss, is going to be problems. They also usually come with collateral requirements. Sometimes they don't. There's not a lot of environments, though, that are going to allow that, especially for a startup business. So, you're looking at bringing in personal assets or perhaps other holdings that you already have in the business. So the risk is really pushed onto you, and also the burden of that daily payment, not daily, sorry, the burden of that monthly payment really will affect your cash flow. Now, there are certain instances in which loans are far more applicable. If, for instance, you have a good market and you are seeking to get in product at a better price. For instance, you need to order a container full of product. It's not sold at anything cheaper, or you need that volume to get the particular discount that you need to make things work. Then a loan will make sense because you have a proven track record of what the market is doing, and you know what your daily, weekly, monthly, seasonal cash flow is going to be like. So it really depends on what exactly you want to do. If you're looking into loans to start up your business and you don't have a track record in the industry, understanding what is happening, this is a very dangerous thing to take on. Unless you have put in your mitigation plans that you're willing to lose that money. It's kind of, you may be playing with going to a casino at this point. So again, loans are very appropriate for certain instances, but you need to really think about how they can apply in your business and not jump the gun and put yourself under pressure that you don't need in instances where you don't have a proven understanding of what that market is doing. Shauna?
No comments.
Right.
Okay, so next up is the general category of investors, right? We're going to break this down a little bit, but there's a couple of things to note up front. The first one is this, of course, involves equity dilution. So not only are they going to buy off chunks of your company, but your share is going to get smaller and smaller. So let's say that you've decided, okay, I'm going to sell off 50% of my company. You may be doing that in 5, 10, 20% chunks, but you get to a point where you want to bring on more investment. Then everybody's holdings, once you sold the chunk that you want to sell, now you have to sell new chunks. So everybody have to give up a piece of the pie for that to happen. This is really necessary if you are growing at a rate that requires more capitalization. However, the problem with this is that when your equity dilutes, that is usually tied directly to voting controls, right? So as you give up a representation of the percentage of your company, not only are you giving up a percentage of profits, you're giving up control. Now, there's different types of stocks, and some of them have a different amount of rights that are tied to them. But in general, what you want to be thinking of is, I'm not just giving up a percentage, which would be fine if your complete amount of money is going to go up. So you have 10% of 10 is 1, 10% of 8,000 is much bigger. That's good. However, you now given up control of stock. And this is where things could get quite sticky. You got to watch out for predatory investors. So they see that you have a good thing going, and then they swoop in and take control of things, and now you're out. And then everything that I've said includes this idea that the options in investment are complex, right? We're going to break some of that down in a bit. One of the upsides, though, is you get potential access to the knowledge of the people who are investing in you, their network, and the skills that they have, right? And so these could be really serious boons. So, Shauna, you have anything to add to that? All right, so let's start low. Now, crowdfunding can be something that nets you quite a lot of investment. However, this tends to play off of investments that you've already made, capitalizing on resources that you already have in place. For instance, if you do a Kickstarter, it's far more likely that you will be successful if you already have a following. So just as an example, let's say you've been on YouTube and you have quite a following in entertainment of some sort. Let's say it's books. And you decide, I'm going to launch this new book. People know you because of those books. They're into books. That's very important, that they're not into you because of some other part of your personality. Because a lot of people have problems with converting followership into actual sales because the people are following them not for the actual product that they want to sell. So if you do have that though, your Kickstarter, which is one of, if not the most popular crowdfunding platforms, is going to be far more likely to be successful because you have that following. Now, it doesn't mean that you absolutely need that following, but you need to understand exactly what the market wants. And if you don't have that understanding through a followership, then you need the market insights from somewhere else. Okay, so getting back to small, the reason I said small is because each individual investment is small, right? And then, which makes it all the more important that now you need a lot of individual investors. But this also makes it MVP appropriate. If you don't know what an MVP is, it's the minimum viable product, which means it's the smallest thing that you can go to the market that will give people value without you spending unnecessary amounts of money to invest and see if that is actually solving a problem that the market wants to be solved. And they're telling you that with their money. Okay? What this does present, however, is a lot of smaller but still very viable opportunities in the diversity that you find in the long tail. By long tail, we mean on a distribution, you get a big hump in most distributions. Let's take the normal distribution, for instance, where you get that hump right in the middle and then you have two long sides. Those tapered off edges contain a lot, one moment, contain a lot of individuals that have very niche interests. And so if you are targeting something like that, crowdfunding can be very, very appropriate. A lot of crowdfunding is more successful though in the actual market testing and penetration. So the funding is for a particular project as opposed to a particular business on the whole. So you're going to them with a product and saying, hey, I want to make this. Do you want it? If you do, here's X amount of money. When we reach milestone 1, we'll do X. When we reach milestone 2, we'll do Y. And there are stretch goals after that. So it will tell you a lot about the market without you necessarily having to do a whole lot of outlay. And with that, you could test various levels of the MVP as well. So it's like, it's the MVP of an MVP. There are also platforms that will do investment into companies themselves, but they are far more difficult to actually gain traction with because of the aforesaid follower capital problem. Yeah, so that's the smaller one. You have anything to add to that, Sean?
So I just wanted to jump in to say that having an MVP is extremely important. And I'll use Apple as an example. When they have their big splashy product launches where they are announcing what's coming next, that's not necessarily an MVP for them, but it is building hype about what is to come. And so if Apple does it, if Apple shows off a prototype, which is literally it's photos, it's video renderings, whatever it may be, they are giving a taste of what is to come and what they are about to release. Apple is the biggest, I believe, by revenue company in the world, and they still have to do it. So as a small business, you should do it. You should do it if you are going to go the route of crowdfunding. I would even say you should do it if you're going the route or the route, as you would say, for a loan or a grant. If you're able to have a prototype website or a physical, like photos of a physical representation of a product or mock-ups, as they could be called, you need to have those, especially if what you're talking about is technical or it is something that you think you are introducing something new. And it even could be a backpack, right? Like I see a lot of Kickstarters and crowdfunding for products, whether it be a backpack, a wallet, whatever it is. They're claiming that it's new, it's different, it's great, it's high quality. You have to have photos, you have to have videos, because people need to see what it is that they're investing in. You can't just say that, hey, invest in my wallet, my leather wallet with, I think it's FID, RFD, something where it blocks the magnet from people being able to steal your credit card information and all of that. So what? People want to physically see what it is that you're doing, even if it's not something that you can tangibly hold. So yes, MVP, prototype, very important.
Yeah, and I think we'll outline some more of that when we get down to requirements. Okay, so next up is angels. If you haven't heard of angels before, these are angel investors, and they are individual investors as opposed to institutional ones who are looking for typically very early stage investment opportunities, because they want to make their returns by getting in super early and being able to leverage smaller amounts of money, not as small as crowdfunding, but as far as the investment world goes, 100,000 is much less than, like, say, if you're asking for 10 million. This is the typical range. And of course, it depends. Angels in Silicon Valley are going to be something completely different to angels in Nassau, Bahamas or Barbados. So these individuals, again, they're looking for these opportunities that they can flip on an individual as opposed to an institutional level. Now, what that means is that you get a relationship much more so than you would with, say, a VC. That's good because again, you can leverage their knowledge, network, skills, etc. But they have very high expectations because of that. That relationship goes two ways. And so the individual angel has to be vetted by you very, very, very closely, because if you do not gel with them and they give you $100,000 and they're not getting what they expect, and you've not set up the relationship parameters to be well understood, and let's just say you're not the greatest communicator, or they have unrealistic expectations, this could be a very serious problem that will sink your business very, very quickly. So you need to be very careful around this. However, they do have a higher risk appetite. They're in this sort of superposition where they have a high risk appetite, but they also are on you far more than even a VC would be, because a VC's portfolio is much bigger and they have to be at hand's length, whereas an angel might be right up in your business, in your face, far more often. But if you can tap into what is a very nascent set of networks that are building up in the Latin America, Caribbean region, then this could be a very good way to go. However, once again, you have to vet the relationship. That is the number one thing with angels. Shauna? All right. Next up is partnerships. Now, partnerships are not what you would typically think of as investors. This would be more if you were starting a separate venture or project, a very big project that you don't want to take on by yourself. So you're getting investment, not just from straight up money from your partner, but an input of skills, knowledge, et cetera, et cetera. Typically, this is going to be done by spinning up a new vehicle for it. So it could also show up as a profit share arrangement. an individual example of this would be people who are very, very good at copywriting will sometimes come in and say, listen, you could either give me many, many thousands of dollars to do this, or I could do the upfront work for free and get a cutoff of revenue, right? These types of things are very variable in how they can be arranged. But the main thing is not just the money side, but that you can and should partner with entities that have complementary skills to yours. You want to bring a lot of value to it, but you want their value to be different to your value, so that you guys are two ships that are supporting each other in the wind. Anything to add to that, Shauna? Okay. Another non-typical understanding of investment types is Profit First. Profit First is a book that is geared mostly towards small businesses. However, businesses up to a much larger size can benefit from this. The basic idea is not to think about loans and investment from the outside and all the complications that can come with these sorts of things, but rather to look at the business and say, what do I actually need to run this business on a numbers basis? And for every unit that I sell, let's say you sell hamburgers. Hamburgers are not the only thing that you sell, but that's your main thing, right? And for every hamburger that I sell, what percentage of this hamburger is profit? And do I actually need outside investment? Because if I'm selling hamburgers now and I feel that I need investment, that means that my hamburgers are probably not profitable. Now, if you are in a good position, and again, you want to take on outside investment or loans to grow, that's great. But if you feel that you need investment because things are not as profitable as they should be, perhaps what you want to do is take a step back from thinking about this outside investment and really look at the structure of the business and decide, am I making profit first? And taking out the money for profit from every individual sale, and therefore only leaving myself with the operational money that is left, and making good, lean decisions about the business, as opposed to deluding yourself into thinking, I'm doing things very well, and this is a good business model, even though it's not making me the profit that I should be making, that I think I should be making. And my fix is by taking in outside money. So this is one of the last types, because this should stick in your mind as one of the first things that you really think about. All right. All right. That brings us to requirements around these. So you'll see in the startup world that the pitch is king. Everybody wants to get their pitch right. And everybody's going to pitch competitions. And, you know, you got Kiyosaki's 10 slides. I know I mispronounced that. We're just going to move on. And you got a lot of people saying, you know, it's anywhere from 9 slides to 14 slides. But there are particular things that you need in your pitch. We're not going to go over that now. There are a lot of templates that are out there. There are some great apps online that you can use to generate these things. The main thing, though, is that you have to bring the content of what is there. And the main content around that in your main deck is, what is the financial model here? And what is the operating model here? which is usually combined into, excuse me one second, it's usually combined into one big model, okay? Now, that model, I think we have a problem. That model is usually the model, the Canvas model, okay? So the Canvas model is this great thing that was open sourced, and so there are a lot of variations on it. There's the lean Canvas model, there's the regular one, and everybody has their little bits here and there. But it structures what it is that you need into blocks. And you need to think about, it makes it easy to think about, okay, what is the thing that I need over here? For instance, how much expenses do I have? Another block, who's the actual market? Another block about what my actual marketing is going to be towards people. Now, I've simplified this into a model that which Shauna will help me bring up when she returns to her computer. So, but I'm gonna just outline in your mind right now the very, very basics of it, okay? We have 5 different things that start with M. The first one is going to be the magic. The magic is what you make and sell to people. So if you are a graphic artist, the magic is the art that you make for the client. The market is who it is that you're selling it to. So someone needs some flyers so they can advertise on Facebook. That's the market for you, right? In between the magic and the market is the message, because you have to actually speak to the market. You don't just magically get to the market. You have to go there and you have to speak with them. And that part of it means that there's a message that has to pass between you, who's making the magic, and the market, okay? Beneath these 3 things that are connected through the message. So market is connected to you via the message, they get the magic. Beneath that is the money. And beneath that is the metrics. Or you could put metrics first and then money. The money is very simply what is coming in and what is going out. It's the simplest math that you're going to get. The metrics is, I want you to think about it as actions and outcomes. You're doing things and results are happening. Now, they're not always directly connected, but you want to be able to measure, these are the things that I control. I call them actions. So every day I'm going to get up, I'm going to make sure that my marketing is in place. I'm going to make sure that I'm connecting to the right people so that my network is growing. I'm going to make sure that the infrastructure that I have is appropriate to what I need. It's not too much, it's not too little. It's not behind the times. It's not too experimental as to be dangerous to my business model. And then on the outcomes side, you're hoping that your actions are going to lead to certain outcomes, but you're not 100% sure of that. Business, when run really well, is a set of hypotheses that you are testing. I believe that if I do this, X, Y, Z will happen. And then you do it and you don't attach yourself to it and you measure what the outcome is, right? So did sales go up or down? Is there a cycle to this? How much is our cash flow being affected? So our profits might be great, but it's really, really spiky, et cetera, right? How many conversions are we getting on the website? Things like this. And that way you know, okay, here are all the things that I have to do for magic to be made. I'm making sure that my message is connecting me to the correct market. And then these outcomes are happening. And hopefully one of those outcomes is that the income part of the money is going up. Right. So all that to say, you need to understand that model very well. That's it at a, thank you, Shauna. Okay. So as we can see here on the left, big picture magic. On the far right, market. They're connected in the middle through this message. You want to measure what you're doing, actions on the left, outcomes on the right, and then that's going to result in money. Money out will be on the left because you're spending money to make your magic. Money in, if you're doing it correctly, the market is giving you money. Now, it's in and out because there are other ways. Revenue is not the only way you get money in, but it's the big part. But by saying just in, you account for all the other things that could be happening, including investment. So if we jump back to the pitch, right? I say all that to say your pitch and everything that comes after this in terms of your pitch will go to an executive summary, and then your executive summary will be beefed out into a full business plan. You have to understand these models, which all have to agree with what you put out in that basic, what I call the M model: magic, message, market, money, metrics. Super simple. If all of that doesn't agree, then you have work to do. Now, I want you to understand something. All models are wrong, but some models are useful. Okay? Another way to put this is that the map is not the territory. If you have a map in front of you, it shows you where to go, but you know that doesn't have all the detail of your house and the way the street looks and what they're selling inside the Wendy's when you get there. It wouldn't be useful if it did all of that, but you still need to understand that it is not reality. It is a representation of reality and is a useful tool. So you don't obsess over it, but you definitely never skip it. Okay? All right. So, Shauna, I'm gonna make sure that they get a good template for pitch. We don't want to drone on exactly what every piece of the slides are, but all of those slides are supported by that model. Okay, and then the supporting docs that I mentioned here, we'll touch on further down. Those are things that are not in the pitch. A pitch is really about moving on to the next stage of the conversation. And it's not there to give all of the details, but it should have some supporting detail that comes along with it. And that's what supporting documents are. So those could be your financials. Those could be letters of intent. Those could be the traction that you got. Those could be everything that really says, everything that I said here in this pitch, the claims that I made have evidence behind them, which we'll touch on again as we move on. Yeah.
All right, so let's jump into the executive summary. You see, the executive summary a lot of times is requested when you are applying for a grant. Much of the time when you're applying for a grant, you don't need to give a full business plan. So they will either say they want the executive summary, a business plan, or both. A really, really good executive summary should make them feel that they know your business without them needing to read your full business plan. So it needs to be detailed enough, but still fit into their criteria, whoever the funder is. So a lot of times they will say no more than 2 to 3 pages for the executive summary. It means that you cannot waste words. You cannot use fluffy language. You need to get straight to the point. You have to have a summary or a mission statement. You have to outline what the problems are or the opportunities that you are addressing, because sometimes we sell products or we provide services that don't necessarily address a problem. They may be addressing an opportunity. And then you have to clearly show how your product or service provides solution. You need to give the background of the business, including your background, the team's background. It's very important that you show this is why I chose this. This is why I'm qualified. This is how the team is qualified. Now, much of the time, the question is, what if my business is completely unrelated to my background, my experience? Well, then you need to be able to weave a story. And I'm not talking about lying, I'm talking about storytelling, okay? And that's something that Matthew deeply loves to get into. But you have to be able to bridge the gap between, for example, I have a background in business. So why am I suddenly opening up a restaurant? What is the correlation? What is the background story? So maybe I could say, you know what, I decided to adopt a lifestyle change and I realized that it helped me become healthier, drop weight. I got rid of medical issues and I want other people to experience the same thing. And my business background will help me run the business, blah, 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 blah. You see how I bridge the gap there? That's very important. Next up, you have to explain who is your market, who are you selling to, and who are your competitors. Please, it hurts me physically when I hear people say they have no competitors. That's almost impossible because guess what? People not buying from you is still a decision. The competitor is do nothing. There's also substitutes. So if people don't buy from you, what can they get as a substitute that would get them the same or similar results? You have to be able to identify your competition. Why is this important? Because a funder is looking at you and saying, well, do you know who you're selling to? One, and have you done your market research? That's extremely important. Your business model. Who are you selling to? Why are you selling to them? How are you going to get it to them? How are you going to deliver it to them? How are you going to make money? That's the crux of your business model in a nutshell, very high level, right? And then, of course, your financial information and your projections. One of the best ways to disqualify yourself from a funding opportunity is to have strange, misleading, bloated financial projections. I have seen so many financial projections where people are expecting in their first year to make $1 million. Meanwhile, their average product cost may be $150. Do you understand how many sales you have to make to get $150 to $1 million? Do you have the capacity to have a revenue of $1 million? Do you have the team in place? Do you have the infrastructure? Do you have the business model? Are you proven? If you are a new business, especially, and you're not selling high ticket, how did you get to $1 million? That is what a funder is going to ask. Immediately, you can disqualify yourself if your numbers are unrealistic, if your projections are unrealistic. And then, of course, you need to explain what you're going to use the money for. You're asking for $5,000, but why? What are you going to use the money for? Have you thought about it? And what impact is that going to make on your business, that $5,000? And what a lot of funders have started doing now is they don't give you that money in cash anymore. They may, like the Access Accelerator, they may actually send it directly to a vendor. They're not putting money on your account anymore. I don't know if they ever did. What they're saying is, you know what, submit the invoices for the things that you say you need, and then we will pay your vendors directly. So you never actually touch that money. You want us to add anything? Huh?
No, but you are
Hmm?
zoomed in. It's on the slide for some reason.
Oh, Next up, let's talk about your business plan. Your business plan, as Matthew said earlier, is a much more extended, expanded version of your executive summary. Now, typically, your executive summary goes at the very front of your business plan. So that instead of someone having to read 5, 7, 10, 15, 30 pages of your business plan, they might immediately flip to the very front, which is the executive summary. You should write the executive summary last if you have a full business plan so that you can just pull out the most relevant information, okay? Without a person having to read the entire plan. So your business plan, again, don't be fluffy. Don't use a whole lot of jargon. Why shouldn't you use jargon or industry words? Because you have to be mindful of your audience. I see a lot of times, for example, people are pitching tech products that the average person may not know about or understand. Let me give you an example: blockchain, cryptocurrency, things like that. You're saying that you're building this business based on blockchain and you're using all of this language that only people who understand and know blockchain would understand. But remember now that your business plan may not be read by tech people in that world. You may have people who are evaluating your business plan who are in the banking industry, who are in the financial services industry. So they don't necessarily understand when you're talking about building this business on top of the blockchain. What is the blockchain, first of all? What are you talking about building something on top of it with this fictitious business that we can't see because it only exists on the internet? That is how some people think. So you have to break down exactly what it is that you're doing. I think they say that you should be able to explain something at the grade of like a fourth grader. I think it is. And that way you really know. And if you could explain it at that level, that you understand your business inside and out, and that the average person can understand it. Yes, including adults at the fourth grade level. Okay. So your business plan gives you focused analysis. There are a lot of parts to your business plan. You open with the executive summary. You can move into the introduction. You should outline your products and services very clearly. You should outline how the business is going to make money, your revenue streams. You can even get into pricing of your products. Definitely, you have to talk about your competition. You have to talk about your marketing plan. How are you going to get it into the hands of the people that you say that you are selling to? You need to talk about who is your ideal client avatar. Who is your target market? Who is the client or the customer that you are selling to? You need to be able to outline that. You definitely need to show your experience, your team's experience, okay? Especially the more money that you're asking for, quite frankly, is someone going to give you, let's say, $500,000 and it's a team of one? Now, if you don't have an official team, meaning that you are the person who does just about everything, what you can do is you can build a board of directors. You can build people who have the expertise, who will help you look good on paper, because that's what it's kind of about, right? Not only is it for you to look good on paper, but for you to have the mentors and the advisors who will help guide your business to success so that they don't have to worry, and they being the funders don't have to worry about their $500,000 resting squarely on you because you are a one-man person. Y'all, you don't have to start your business plan from scratch. There are so many places where you can find templates. I believe bplans.com still exists. You can Google specific template samples according to your industry or your business type, and you will find examples. There is no reason why, one, you need to write a business plan from scratch, or two, say that you have no idea where to start. I used to write business plans, and one of my biggest pet peeves was people expected me to create the business, to build up the business, to explain the products and the services. to create their pricing structure, to plan out who they were going to sell to. I might as well run the business myself at that point because I built it for you. And then the concern becomes, can you run this thing that you want me to write and build off of my vision when it's really yours? And one of the things that you will note as well is when you have someone who writes your business plan, you pay someone to do it, or you get someone else to do it, or you get someone else to do your pitch, and you have to present this and you have to defend it, particularly in pitching, and then you can't answer basic questions because it wasn't your business idea, you didn't write it, or you didn't review the documents. That is a problem for funders, and it happens. And I'm talking about not that you're nervous and you don't know, your mind draws a blank. I'm talking about you don't know your business. And so it creates a question mark, because if you don't know your business, that's scary for them when it comes to giving you money. You want to add anything?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to add that in this new age, as of 2 years ago, where we have large language models, AI, that can do a lot of heavy lifting, be careful how you use these tools, okay? Number one, if you treat it as a replacement for the person that Shauna just talked about, who would have created your business plan for you, you still have the same problem, okay? That you have not put in the work to understand what is going on. The second thing is that because of that, you will not catch errors, problems. These are tools, like any other tool, that can help you, but the wielder of the tool is really the person who has the responsibility for understanding how to use the tool, how to implement the tool, what to do, what is the ultimate outcome that you want from the tool. Also, in this day and age, funders, just like teachers, are quite attuned to knowing when something was generated by one of these language models. And just like a teacher, they're going to give you a 0. Because if you couldn't be bothered to work on your business and you're trying to pass off a chat GPT generated business plan, it's not going to go well for you. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't use chat GPT to help you, to play around with the way you word things, to tighten up your language, to let you think about other things, to be a tool to help you create. But if you just rely on it to do things for you, even if it does a good job, it's not going to go well for you because you didn't put in the work and understanding, and you can't defend it and you can't run it because you don't understand it. So I just, these days, that's something worth thinking about. All right, now, some of the deeper documentation within the business plan or supporting documents for your pitch will be your financial projections. Now, you need to become financially literate if you're going to get into business. That may sound like a duh moment, but you will not believe the amount of people who just think that that part is going to take care of itself. Understand your basics, learn how to read your accounts, but the main projections that you're going to have are the sales projections. The more history you have to back up the future projections, the better. If you don't have a history going into it, you need market analysis. You need to see what is the market actually doing around this. Since I don't have history in this, I can point to the history of other players in the market. That information is readily available out there. Sometimes you have to pay for it. If you're balking at paying for it, perhaps going into business is not for you. The other thing that you need to understand your expenses very, very, very well. And you need to question, do I actually need this expense? One very big question that you could always ask yourself is, what can I do that's going to make everything else either easier or irrelevant? So if there's an expense that seems big, but it cuts out 10 other expenses, that might be something that you want to do. It could also be that you don't need that golf um, membership in there, even though you think it's leading to a better network. Maybe it is, but you need to analyze that. Am I actually using this golf membership to actually forward my business, or am I just not doing what I need to be doing with that money? Okay. Understanding the balance sheet, of course, you need to understand that. You need to understand your profit and loss, but cash flow is king. And remember, maybe you should be doing this even if I've convinced you that maybe outside investment is not right for you, that profit first is the way to go. You still need to do this work, right? Because you are the ultimate investor. You want your investment to pay off. And so you need to put in the work to make this happen. So sales expenses, balance sheet, cash flow, these are the main things that you want to have included. Another big thing on the checklist. So if you're taking on investment, it's highly unlikely that you either are doing this under a sole proprietorship vehicle, and it is 100% true that you should not be doing that. You really need to be incorporated, okay? The legal protections, the legal benefits that you get from incorporation are just 100% a necessity. Also, you were just simply not eligible for a lot of different investment types if you're not incorporated. You can't sell shares if there aren't any shares, okay? So one of the things that you want to think about is, where am I seeking my investment from? If you are trying to get, for instance, onto the big VC scene in the States, they're simply not going to look at you if you don't have a Delaware incorporation. That's just facts. Okay. However, if you're looking for grants for environmental type stuff, it may well play towards your advantage that you are a nonprofit incorporated in a jurisdiction that you're going to be doing the work in, right? So just think very carefully about jurisdiction. It also comes with other implications, because wherever you are legally incorporated, of course, you're legally obliged to pay taxes there. What's the tax regimen there? Who do you need to help you understand that? What are reputable resources, et cetera, right? There are a lot of governance requirements. In the Bahamas, for instance, way back in the day, you used to have at least 5 shareholders to incorporate a company. That's not the case anymore. You only need 2. And almost all the shares can be owned by one person. You only need like a token share by somebody else. But these things change. You need to understand very, very well what the deal is. Don't just go to a lawyer, even one that you trust, and have them do it. It's very similar to a business plan. You need a good lawyer, but you also need to understand what they're doing for you. What is this vehicle? How is it set up? Who are the directors? Why are you holding this set of shares over here? Okay, what needs to happen for me to sell shares? Your bylaws need to be understood, your articles of association. If you're the owner of the business and you don't understand how it operates, I cannot tell you how many times I've seen incorporated documents where lawyers have pulled from templates. The templates are very similar across, and you haven't sat down with them and said, listen, I need XYZ to operate in this entity. They could be nonprofits, they could be for-profits companies, right? But you want things to operate in a particular way. You get your incorporation documents and you look at them, you can't do that. because it's in your bylaws that you have to do it a different way, even down to the titles of the executives that you have. So just think very, very carefully about how it is. Make sure that you understand what vehicles you're getting into. Also, if you're incorporating in the states, there's different types of incorporation: S corps, LLCs, C corps, et cetera, et cetera. So you need to be incorporated. You need to choose your jurisdiction very carefully. You need to understand what it is, how it works, and then what the requirements are that impose upon.
I mistakenly muted Matt, trying to unmute myself. I just wanted to hop in to say that incorporation assumes one big thing, that you are a legally registered company in the Bahamas or somewhere in the world. That many times is one of the first questions, even when you are going for grant funding. Besides your contact details, the business name, and are you a legally registered company in the Bahamas, i.e., do you have a business license? This is probably one of the easiest times now to get a business license, okay? Now, you can do it online. There is still a process, meaning that you need to get an NIB number, you have to get a TIN number, you have to do certain things. But go through the process and don't wait until you are needing or wanting to apply for funding to legalize your business. Because at that point, you are at the mercy of the government. Let's be honest. It could take anywhere from a week, a few weeks, couple months, depending on what is going on. Okay, so that's very important to note. Try to get a business license. Now, I know some people, it goes against what some people would say, which is, you know what, just operate. And then if you decide that you want to continue in the business or it's looking viable, then you go and make yourself legal. I have an argument against that for so many reasons. Let's take it back even to during COVID times, when the government of the Bahamas was giving a small stipend or grant to businesses every 2 weeks for, I think it was 8 weeks. So there were 4 payments, I believe. And you know who only got that information, that cash, sorry, you know who got that cash? The direct deposits to your bank account? The businesses that were legally registered and had an up-to-date business license. I cannot emphasize that enough. If you are working a job that is paying your NIB for you, your National Insurance Board number, for those who may not be Bahamian, then you don't have to worry about paying NIB for now through your business. The job covers that. You only need to pay NIB once, not for every single source of revenue. So take advantage of that and get your business license. You can pay someone, it's as low as like $60, $70, $80 now for someone to get your business license done for you. No excuse.
Yeah, I just want to clarify, incorporation and license are 2 separate things. So just in case that those got conflated. So you can have a business license as a sole owner, but that means that you are the business. So let's say someone sues the business, they're suing you, okay? Let's say you got a loan in the name of the business, but it's a sole proprietorship. The business doesn't have the loan, you have the loan, right? They're coming after your car, your house, okay? So incorporate, and then you have to also get the business license, as Shauna was saying, right? So you can't just let the corporation sit there, you have to actually license it. And if you don't, well, you know, there's all these weird penalties, et cetera. So the idea of proof is really just about what are these supporting documents that you need, right? So whatever claims that you've made, be it in a pitch, executive summary, a business plan, you're going to have to support them. You can't just say things and expect people to believe you, right? The due diligence that we have listed here goes both ways. If you are looking at an angel, you want to do due diligence and be like, what is this angel like? And they are doing due diligence on you. A bank is going to do due diligence on you. Any investment that you get, they are going to check you out. And if you either lied, which never, ever, ever do, sometimes it includes jail time, even if it's true, but you are not supporting it. Number one, they can't believe that because they don't have the evidence for it. But number two, they are going to look at you and be like, well, you couldn't be bothered to put the evidence here. Why did you ever even make this claim to begin with? Okay. So those are bank records. Those are receipts, invoices. Those are agreements with vendors, agreements with customers. Those are letters of intent. Those are other financial documents like, the credit card stuff. So not just the bank documents. Those are accounts signed off by a CPA, etc. Whatever claim you make, those are even studies that you're drawing your marketing information from, right? Whatever claim you make in your pitch, your executive summary, your business plan, you have to back it up. Even if that's not information from you, that's information from the outside world. That's fine as long as you can say this is accurate and here's the proof for it. Anything to add there, Shauna? No? Okay. So, and I just want to highlight your banking and accounting, that's part of that, right? So, in addition, this is a problem that sole proprietors fall into all the time. They have one bank account, they're mixing the funds with the business, with the personal, right? Or people who even have the businesses incorporated, they're mixing in their personal business with the business. And, it's fine for you to take profit shares, et cetera, but it all has to be very, very clear, all right? That you're not buying your new blue suede shoes. The company isn't buying those as a business expense. You need to go through the trouble of pulling out some profit share so that you're paid, so that you personally can go and buy your blue suede shoes. Okay, you have to separate out and have proper accounting for everything that you do.
All right, so let's talk about finding funding. That's locally and internationally. So let's get into it. Locally, there are several ways, and you guys, I'm very excited because years ago, there were very few ways to get money around here, honestly. One, the banks, very few banks were willing to have conversation, particularly with small business owners, when it came to giving loans. And there were very few entities locally that were not requiring you to show collateral or match whatever it is that you were asking for. So imagine you're asking for $250,000 and then they have to see that you're willing to put up as collateral your home that's valued at least $250,000 in case you default and cannot pay back. So now there are more entities. There is a bit more flexibility when it comes to local funding. So first of all, you need to do your research. I'm going to give you some examples of websites and social media pages to follow. They have calls throughout the year. One of the more well-known ones right now is the Access Accelerator, the SBDC. They have calls specifically for different things. They just finished a call for, or maybe they're opening one for entrepreneurs with disabilities, they have done youth, they have done women, they have given grants for men. They have different target audiences that they look for. The second one would be the Bahamas Development Bank. Now, the Bahamas Development Bank gives loans, okay? They are not in the grant giving business. They give loans. So be aware of that. And they are unlikely to give loans to new businesses. I don't control the rules. I'm just letting you know. If you are a new business and you have no track record and you don't have your numbers together and they're just looking for certain things, they're looking for the businesses that are more established, that are more seasoned. So do not, unless they put out a specific call for newer businesses, you can look at the requirements just to see what standards you need to meet for them, but I wouldn't say go for that right away. Next up is the Tourism Development Corporation, the TDC. Of course, based on the name, you need to have a business that is based or tied to the tourism industry. That's very important, and you can find calls on their website. You can also, for a lot of these entities, you can go to the website and find sign up for their newsletter, along with following them on social media. Next up is the Ministry of Youth. The Ministry of Youth, I believe, just finished up a call for youth, obviously, to apply for grant funding. That's funding that they don't have to pay back. You also have Own Bahamas, who does their, I believe it's biannual call for grants. You also have Fox Foundation, you have the Grand Bahama Port Authority, you have the Bahamas Entrepreneurial Venture Fund, okay? So those are some local entities where they have open calls throughout the year. They are competitive. Why? Because much of them are giving grant money. We like free money. We like free money in our personal lives. We like free money for our businesses, okay? So it is highly competitive, but I'll give you a secret. Compared to a lot of the international funding opportunities, they require less innovation to be eligible. Now, that's not to say that if you have something that is tech heavy, you think it's revolutionary for the Bahamas, that you should not apply. I'm simply saying that if you have a business that is not as techy, that's not doesn't have like a high-tech emphasis, you can still very much so be eligible and competitive. Okay, let's talk about international opportunities. Y'all, Google is free. Google is free. It's one of the best places. Use Google. No. Yes. Use Google. Use AI. You know, people are talking about DeepSeek now. Use ChatGPT. Use other AI sources to find international funding. I completed a certification a few years ago, maybe 2020, I believe it was. It was the Women's Entrepreneurship certificate by Cornell University. I did it online. Did not have to pay a dime. Why? One, because I'm all over the internet, y'all. I am all over the internet. I am on message boards. I am always Googling. I am always looking for opportunities, okay? If I listen, if trying to be in the room and take advantage was a person, I'm one of those people, okay? And you need to do the same. You have to have a mind of research, okay? And then also, I must say as well that a lot of the international opportunities will give, whether it's grants, loan, they have a higher window of what it is that they're willing to give you, right? So for example, a local funder or funding entity may have a ceiling of $5,000. Another one may have a ceiling of $100,000. Some of them have a ceiling of $1 million, up to $1 million, that they have to disperse to companies, okay? Through me finishing that certificate program, I automatically got added to a database. Every single month, I want to say maybe twice a month, actually, I get funding opportunities sent directly to my inbox. So what am I saying to you? When you see accelerator opportunities, certification opportunities, incubator opportunities, look into them, sign up to those that are applicable to you, at least one. Go through the experience, because it's not just about acquiring the knowledge. It's not just about networking, but literally what happens after that. You can open yourself up to so many opportunities just because you decided to put yourself into the room and pull up a chair at the table. Now, that being said, international funding opportunities are very, very competitive. You are talking about, you may have a business that is not very tech heavy, and a lot of the international opportunities are looking for things that require or will introduce technical innovation, or they're niche. They're leaning towards niche. So the world right now is moving towards sustainability. People are looking for businesses that are interested in the green economy, the blue economy, even the orange economy. Also, not only are they looking at businesses that are in those particular sectors, but the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, you guys can look that up as well. Some funding opportunities exist for those businesses that are addressing SDGs in particular. So the question for you is, does your business fit a particular niche? Is it green? Is it blue? Is it orange? There's even black. Is it brown? There's colors, y'all. Okay? Does it fit into anything? And you can even Google opportunities based on the economy that you fit in, if you fit into any of those. You want to add anything?
No, not there.
Okay.
Yeah, so determining needs, there's not a lot to say here. It's just to summarize, you have to go through the work, everything that we've outlined here to properly determine the needs. And you need to have this super clear, because people are not interested in what you want. They're interested in what they want. And what they want is either a loan that's going to pay back, or an investment that's going to pay off, or a grant that is going to further their agenda in the world, right? And you have to tell them, okay, to get what you want, this is what I need. And you have to demonstrate that it is a need, not you want, right? One of the things that's not going to go on your list of needs to pay for is your golf membership. Okay, unless some weird way you could say, listen, I met these 50 people, they gave me all these great opportunities, so I definitely need that. So again, just think through very carefully using all the tools that we've outlined, and we will happily give you more details if you contact us, either for pitches or for executive outlines or templates on business plans or reviewing what you have, so that you are telling people, this is what I need, here's the evidence for it. We obviously think it's a good investment. Here's all the argument for why it is. Yeah.
Okay, so let me go back really quickly to, if I can get to naming specific opportunities. Okay, so internationally, some accelerator and incubators that you can look into. Big one, Techstars, huge. They host accelerators, pre-accelerators around the world in different places. They have one live. I think it's the only one live right now happening in Japan, I believe. This may be their inaugural one. Techstars is huge. Go look them up. Tech Beach Retreat, it's called TBR Lab. They have an open call right now. They have a great relationship with Google. They've had a relationship with IDB Lab, I believe, and they are Caribbean. They were founded by two Caribbean entrepreneurs, and they are heavy into getting businesses in Latin America and Caribbean funded. Next up, Rev Up Caribbean. I know I'm saying Caribbean and Caribbean, don't worry about it. It's just how it rolls off my tongue at the moment, right? So there's Rev Up Caribbean, there's the UNDP Accelerator Labs, and there's also the Entrepreneurs Organization. Now, again, all of these different entities have different calls throughout the year. So what are you supposed to do? Go to the website, sign up for their newsletter, keep checking back periodically to see when the window is opening. Sometimes they will tell you in advance that they are about to do an open call. It is your job. It is not anyone else's job. It's your job to identify the opportunities and put yourself in positions where you can find out the information that you need. International sources outside of Google, obviously. Startup World Cup. I actually have a friend, Bahamian, who made it to, I believe, the semifinals to pitch her business. It was either the semifinals or the finals of the Startup World Cup. This is from entrepreneurs all over the world, okay? And listen, she's amazing. Amberelle, check her out. Also, there's Y Combinator. Y Combinator is an OG. OG. Go look them up. I'm not going to explain it. Next, the Green Alley Award. Green Alley is specifically for those in green industries. There's the Global Startup Awards, the Commonwealth Innovation Fund, the Caribbean Development Fund, that's specifically for cultural and creative industries innovation fund. Compete Caribbean, International Grant Watch is a website that has a listing that's constantly updated of global grant opportunities, and a lot of them are for nonprofit organizations. The Creative Business Cup by the Creative Business Network, and then the HALT Prize. The HALT Prize is specifically for students enrolled in college, any college around the world, okay? Now, again, go to these places, join the newsletter, and you should get the information directly in your inbox when they open up. And then, of course, if you're a university student, there are some funding opportunities that are specifically for enrolled university students. So hopefully that list, that was a list of like 15 or 16 alone that you can look up to see.
Tiny seed.
Tiny seed as well. Matthew said add tiny seed. Locally, I also want to say add the Academy of Women Entrepreneurs that is held by the US Embassy. Okay, hopefully they'll do another cohort either this year or next year.
Yeah, just to wrap up, once you're funded, the journey is only just beginning. That's why you got the money. It's not sign a check, okay, everything is done, go home, go to bed. At this point, there are a couple of things that you need to think about because you've opened up a relationship that is ongoing. And the huge thing that you need to be doing is engagement. That's engagement with the people who have funded you, be that loans, angels, whatever, but it's also engagement within your own team. If you're not a single operator, then you need to be very, very clear on what expectations are now placed upon you by your outside investment, right? So internal engagement, external engagement, there are metrics that have been put upon you, and you need to add them if they aren't already in your core metrics. You need to add them to what you're tracking so that you can report back. Reporting is key. Grants put this especially upon you. Less so for loans and even investment, but investors do want you to have very clear communications, and exact requirements will vary. But you want to be able to impress them by saying, okay, this is what's happening. here's the figures. We could really use some of your insight on this, that, the next. And you just want to be sure that you're being proactive with the information and the asking for feedback. Speaking about feedback, the whole actions and outcomes that we spoke about before, you want to put that into a feedback loop so that your actions are being done, certain outcomes are happening, you're looking at that, you're making decisions, and you're adjusting. Actions, outcomes, adjustment. And it's just looping, looping, looping. You want to be able to show that to the investors. Some touchstones to think about in your engagement with internal and external is, what are the expectations, once again, right? How is this allocation happening? Did you have to deviate your allocation at all, right? And what was the reasoning behind that? What are your marketing and sales strategy and tactics that are happening here, right? How is your market reach being affected? Is it growing, shrinking? Are you able to get more customers out of this? What has gone right and gone wrong there? How is this affecting scaling? You had a theory about getting bigger. Is it actually panning out? Have you had to pivot in your approach to it? You need to be very proactive in communicating those sorts of things. Same, team expansion is part of scaling. You need to have those conversations. And then your overall risk management and contingency. You're not going to get money by saying, I'm going to do this. And they said, okay, what if that doesn't happen? And you say, what do you mean it's not going to happen? Or you just stare blankly. You have to have at least best case scenario, most likely scenario, worst case scenario, and understand all three of those. And with that, I am done. I don't know if you have anything else to wrap up with, Shauna?
No, just if we have any Q&A, any questions to ask us, you can be as specific or high level as you want to be. Okay. All right. So what you're looking at is a tool that we use a lot. It's from Strategizer. It is the business model canvas. We love it. We take our clients through this. We take our accelerator participants through this. So we encourage you. This will be available to you as part of the resources that we share. And print this out. Print this document out and complete it. I promise you that it will make you think, especially in the beginning stages of planning your business. It will make you think about every single part of your business. In fact, I would recommend that you can do this business model canvas first before you do your business plan. And then you can use this to work out your executive summary. And then if you need to have a business plan, then you can obviously expand out on the business model canvas and the executive summary with your business plan. I don't think it gets any more straightforward than the business model canvas.
Well, I mean, there's one slide below that. And yeah, there you go. I think you should definitely use the business model canvas. However, this is an even more simplified model in which I've combined a few of those categories. So once again, we spoke about at the top of the presentation. You make magic. You want to get it to the market. You do that through your message. There are particular things, metrics that you track. What do you do? What happens? And the money that's coming in and going out. So the magic, of course, is made up of different things. The message is made up of different things. The market is as well. So if you have any questions about that at all, I'm happy to give much more detail, but it maps, it's a simplification of the business model canvas, which you should also do. These are tools that can only get better by using multiple ones. So yeah, that's That's it from our link here.
Alrighty, so thank you for watching. We have another 4 sessions in this series. The next one up is defining your business financial needs. After that, writing a winning pitch and business plan. Then from zero to financial statements. Really excited about that because we have Miss Davinia Bain joining us. And then we have navigating the application process. And we'll be joined by another special guest, which is Tino Sands. And you may know him from Vita Cayo. He is also a seasoned financial services expert as well. So we look forward to seeing you in the next session. Thank you so much for joining. Our link is out.